Sometimes the hardest thing to admit isn't that life is tough, it's that you're lonely. I never planned to say it out loud. I never planned to tell anyone how badly the quiet of my small apartment echoed at night, how every Christmas felt like a reminder, not of joy, not of lights, not of miracles, but of the people I had lost along the way. But one December morning, a stranger asked me a question that cracked something open inside me. She said, "This Christmas, what's your wish?" And before I could stop myself, I whispered, "Don't tell anyone." I wish I wasn't alone. Before we begin the full story, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment on the Soulful Stories. Your support helps us create more emotional and inspiring stories just like this one. My name is Daniel. I'm 41 years old, and for most of my life, Christmas was my favorite time of year. When I was a kid growing up in Ohio, our tiny house would glow like a lantern from the inside out. My mom baked ginger cookies almost every evening in December. My dad used to wrap presents in the messiest way possible, so much tape that you needed scissors and patience to get through it. But life changes fast. My parents passed away a few years apart. My sister moved overseas with her family, and somehow, as the years rolled on, I just drifted out of traditions, out of gatherings, out of people's lives. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just alone, the kind of alone that sneaks up slowly and then suddenly feels louder than anything else in your life. By the time last Christmas approached, I had stopped pretending it didn't bother me. The neighborhood I lived in was one of those friendly places where people waved, but no one really knew each other. I'd see Christmas lights going up, trees being carried into homes, kids hanging stockings. And there I was, standing at my window with a cup of instant coffee, watching everyone else step into moments I no longer had. I worked at a small hardware store downtown. It wasn't exciting, but it kept me busy. Every holiday season, customers rushed in with lists of things to fix before family arrived. Some came in smiling, others stressed out, but they all had someone waiting for them at home. On December 12th, funny how days like this stick in your memory, a woman walked in with a bright red coat, a snow-dusted beanie, and a smile that warmed the whole store. She looked around, carrying a small, worn-out ornament. "Excuse me," she said, stepping up to the counter. "Do you guys have any glue strong enough to repair something old and fragile?" I nodded. "We do. Let me show you." As we walked down the aisle, she told me the ornament belonged to her grandmother, who had passed away earlier that year. It had fallen from the tree that morning, and she was determined to fix it. "You know," she said softly, "Christmas feels heavier this year." I understood that feeling more than she knew. She introduced herself as Lena. Something about her was easy, like she carried gentleness the way other people carry noise. When she laughed, it wasn't loud, but it felt like the sound filled the empty spaces in the room. As she paid, she looked at me thoughtfully. "You okay?" she asked. "You look tired, like your heart's carrying something." I almost brushed it off, but something inside me cracked. Maybe it was the way she said it, direct but kind. "I'm fine," I replied quickly. She gave a small smile. "If you ever need to talk, sometimes strangers are easier." I laughed nervously. "Maybe." She left, and the store felt a little quieter than before. Over the next week, she came by a few more times, once for lights, once for batteries, once for hooks she said she lost, though the way she smiled made me think she didn't lose anything at all. Each time she asked how I was doing, each time I told her I was fine, but she didn't believe me. She saw through it the way only rare people can. Then, on December 20th, right as the sun dipped behind the snowy rooftops, she walked in again, this time without anything to buy. She leaned on the counter, her scarf still frosted with snow. "Daniel," she said gently, "this Christmas, what's your wish?" I froze. No one had asked me that in years. She waited. Not impatiently, just with this soft, steady patience that made the truth bubble up before I could push it down. "Don't tell anyone," I whispered, barely breathing the words. "But I wish I wasn't alone." Her face softened, not with pity, with understanding. She nodded once, slowly. "Thank you for telling me." I shrugged. "Doesn't change anything. You'd be surprised," she said. Then she left. I assumed that was the end of it. People ask things, you answer, life moves on. But kindness, real kindness, doesn't walk away. It circles back. On Christmas Eve, I closed the store early. The streets were quiet, the lights glowing soft under the falling snow. I walked home, warming my hands in my jacket, ready for another quiet night. When I reached my apartment door, I noticed something taped to it, a small red envelope with my name written in looping handwriting. Inside was a note, "You're not alone." Below it was an address. I hesitated. Part of me thought it was a mistake. Part of me thought it was a joke, but some quiet, gentle push, told me to go. When I reached the address, I found a small brick house glowing with warm lights. Through the window, shadows moved. People, laughter, life. I hesitated on the steps, not sure if I belonged anywhere near a scene like this. Then the door swung open. Lena stood there with a smile so warm it nearly melted the snow around us. "You came," she said. "I wasn't sure if I should." She shook her head gently. "Daniel, no one should spend Christmas alone." She ushered me inside, where her family sat around a long wooden table. Her mom hugged me like she'd known me her whole life. Her dad shook my hand with a firm, welcoming grip. Her younger brother handed me a cup of cocoa, piled with marshmallows, and her golden retriever put his head on my knee like we were old friends. I didn't know what to do with it all. The kindness, the warmth, the feeling that for the first time in years, I was part of something. During dinner, Lena sat beside me. She didn't make a big deal out of it, didn't bring up my wish, didn't draw any attention to it. She just made sure I had seconds of mashed potatoes, that my cocoa stayed warm, that I knew, without a single word, that I was welcome. Halfway through dessert, her dad raised a glass. "To kindness," he said, "the kind that finds people exactly when they need it." Everyone cheered. I swallowed hard. After dinner we played games, shared stories, and laughed until my cheeks hurt. And somewhere between the laughter and the warmth, I felt something shift inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Near midnight, as the snow fell softly outside, Lena walked me to the door. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I'm glad you came." I nodded, emotion tight in my chest. "Thank you. For everything." She smiled. "You made a wish. I just refused to let you spend Christmas alone." I looked at her, this woman who barely knew me but had seen through me as if loneliness was printed on my skin. "Why?" I asked. "Why bother?" She shrugged lightly, her breath fogging in the cold air. "Because someone once did the same for me, and it changed my life. Kindness is like that. It doesn't stay where you put it. It spreads." I went home that night with a full stomach, but an even fuller heart. The days that followed weren't perfect. Loneliness doesn't just vanish overnight, but every day, Lena would send a text, a good morning, a check-in, a shared joke, and every few days, she'd stop by the store just to say hi. Slowly, life started feeling less empty. We became friends, real friends, the kind that talk about everything and nothing at the same time, the kind that show up on bad days and celebrate the good ones. And the next, Christmas, 1 year later, I didn't wish not to be alone, because I wasn't. That year, I stood beside Lena, helping decorate her family's tree. The same fragile ornament she had repaired hung near the top, sparkling under the soft lights. At one point, she nudged me gently. "So," she said, "what's your Christmas wish this time?" I looked around the room, at her family laughing, at the glow of the lights, at the warmth that filled every corner. "I don't need one," I said softly. "I already got it." She smiled, and in that moment, I understood something I should have known long ago. Kindness isn't a grand gesture. It's a door left unlocked, an invitation, a seat pulled out, a stranger asking if you're okay, and meaning it. It's the smallest things that save us. If there's one thing this story taught me, it's this. You never truly know what someone is wishing for. Sometimes all they want is to feel seen, to feel remembered, to feel like they matter. So this Christmas, and every day after, be someone's reason to hope, be someone's reminder that the world still has warm hearts in it. Because kindness, it never stops with one person. It travels, it grows, and sometimes, it changes a life, maybe even yours.